Why won't it let me share this freaking link? Ew. I swear, technology, you have to fight it sometimes for it to work. Anyways, greetings, welcome to the time of space with your host, Tomoya Shadow, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to some more of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. We're going to be continuing right where we last left off in the last live stream. We had made our way to episode 3 of the Great Ace Attorney 2, so now we're going to be tackling this new content today and see just how far we can get into it. I'm expecting us to get at least through the investigation part first, so we can get to the trial section in tomorrow's live stream. So without further ado, let's get started out of the way with today's adventure and see what's in store for us. Allons-y! Episode 3. The Great Departed Soul. The Return of the Great Departed Soul.
The grand end of the century Great Exhibition of London. Surely there is not a soul who has failed to hear of it. Wondrous new works of culture and industry from every corner of the globe had converged on Hyde Park, welcoming over 50 million visitors. The last great hurrah of this century. Astonished and delighted people of all nations, and ended on a note of resounding success. But as regards to the terrible catastrophe that occurred during the festivities, very few are aware my friend Mr. Herlock Sholmes had a hand in unraveling the matter. For from the shadows, it was he who earnestly unearthed the facts of the case. And like the centerpiece of the great exhibition, which rose high into the skies of Hyde Park, Sholmes's brilliant deductions, as clear and lofty as the crystal tower itself, brought the truth to light.
We're here at the showground of the Great Exhibition, which is absolutely packed with people. The weather is unusually fine, and we're about to witness a most extraordinary scientific experiment.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 20th century will see steam engines and electrical power dominate the world. Horse-drawn carts will give way to the motor car. Ships will sprout wings and take to the skies. And today, we showcase technology, a glimpse into the future. A world first, a demonstration of my super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine. A man will literally be disassembled by a pulse of high-voltage electricity and beamed to another location.
Oh, you're talking about a teleportation device? Oh boy. That's not gonna end well.
His body will be reassembled by a series of complex calculations exactly as it was before.
Well, that man's dead.
In but a few moments from now, this gentleman will, in the blink of an eye, complete an incredible journey through the air, to arrive an instant later on the crystal tower behind you! This one, yes, yes, yes! Woo-hoo! Yes, 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 yes! Please, that's not what I wanted!
22nd October, 9:36 a.m. Sholmes' suite. Bruno, are you listening? Oh, sorry, what was that, Iris? What's the matter with you? You've been miles away all morning. Didn't you like what I cooked for breakfast? No, that's not it at all. What were we talking about again? Today's paper is full of news about the Great Exhibition again. Ah, yes, the Great Exhibition. I'd like to go sometime. You're really not your usual self today. You seem very down. Don't you agree, Hurley? Oh, no. Why is he down? Did you say something, Iris? Oh, gosh, you're even more down. Ah! When did you arrive, Mr. Naruto? I've been here for about half an hour already. We had breakfast together. What? Why didn't you mention it before? I, thought you might have known I was here. You know, because breakfast? Iris is quite right. You're clearly lacking in vim. So much so that I didn't notice your presence. Thanks. Of course, I could deduce the reason perfectly well with some simple observations. What? Let's see. Yes. For example, your tousled hair this morning with all its unruly spikes. Clearly, it can be deduced, therefore, that... let me stop you there, Mr. Sholmes, because I think I can see where this is going. My hair always looks like this. It always has. Ever since we first met, in fact. Oh, really? How interesting. It just doesn't look like a haircut as such, I suppose. Thanks again. It crossed my mind recently that it's been 6 months now. 6 months since I was forbidden from working in court. So I've been wondering how much longer I'm going to be banned. Oh, well, that would explain why you seem rather glum. Don't you agree, Hurley? Did you say something, Iris? Ah, back to moping. Why was he banned? What's the matter with Mr. Sholmes today? He seems even more down on the dumps than me. I know, and the Great Exhibition has opened. You think he'd be excited. Oh, why don't we all go see it together? I want to, of course I do, but I can't. Not for the time being. Why not? Why not? Why not? Because I'm a great detective after all. So you're embroiled in some tricky case that you can't be distracted from? Is that it? I remember hearing that you're working on a case, Hurley. I suppose I should try to find out what's going on. Half a year ago. Hang on, I'm being distracted. Who's messaging me? I don't recognize this name. Half a year ago now, I took on the defense of a young girl in a trial heard at the Old Bailey. What at first seemed like a simple case of murder that took place at a London pawnbrokery turned out to be one part of a much more far-reaching plot that involved the British government. What? During the course of the trial, it was found that I made an unavoidable, yet at the same time, unforgivable mistake. Words fail me. The situation is utterly deplorable. Mr. Naruto! Yes, my lord. I will decide upon your fate following the conclusion of this trial. Of course, my lord. In the end, I had my right to represent people in court revoked. I was told I had to spend my time in research and study, so that's what I've been doing. You have, haven't you, Bruno? Reading all those big fat tomes about British law up in your room, and the notes about Sholmes' old cases. Brewing Iris's special blends of tea. Fetching my daily bread for me. You've become something of a manservant around here. Start on the Silverwell next, Master Naruto. Well, I'm thinking of going to ask the powers that be to reconsider. Specifically Lord Strongheart at the British Supreme Court on Whitehall. Lord Strongheart? Ah, the delightful Lord Chief Justice. Not my favorite fellow. He's not mine either. He's the man I have to talk to. He's the only one who can grant permission for me to start working in the courts again. I came to Britain to become the best lawyer I could, and I can't do that just sitting around here. The whole of London has been swept up in this great exhibition, hasn't it? Wait. 6 months ago. Is he talking about the case with Gina Lestrade and the murder of Pop Windybank? But he won that case. I don't get it. The whole of London has been swept up in this great exhibition, hasn't it? The most advanced science, the most modern technology, the finest works of art and feats of engineering. For the next 6 months, our capital will be showcasing these things, and the world will be watching. Oh, do you know what I'd like to do? I'd like to look down on London from one of those lovely balloons. Look down on? Do you mean those things fly? Yes, of course. They fly high in the sky and don't even need wings to do it. All you need is hot air. But how? How does hot air have anything to do with flying? It makes no sense. I can't understand it at all. That's true of a lot of new scientific discoveries. Most people can't understand them at first. But in 100 years' time, all these things will just be common knowledge. I suppose they might be. Mind you, some of the science being demonstrated seems very questionable. Something went wrong on the open experimentation stage yesterday, apparently. There was a huge explosion. Still, I wish I'd seen it, though. I'd love to see how bad some of these scam experiments really are, says the innocent 10-year-old girl. See here? Every page of this paper carries some article or other about but the brighter things shine, the darker the shadows that are cast behind them. Personally, I find myself drawn to the darkness, to the impenetrable. That is by the great exhibition newspaper has been entered into the court record. Shadows cast behind? Is that a metaphorical way of referring to the back page of the paper? May as well take a look-see at it. The Reaper attacked? So many glowing reports about the great expedition and everything that's going on there. Other than this rather gloomy-looking one, that is. Wait, what? What's the matter, Runo? The Reaper attacked. That's Lord Van Zeeks! This must be what Mr. Sholmes was talking about. Does he know any more, I wonder? Are you investigating a particularly tricky case at the moment, Mr. Sholmes? You could say that, I suppose. Nothing more to add? That's not like you. What sort of case is it? Shh! Quiet, Mr. Naruhodo! You must not discuss it here. You never know who might be listening. You're acting very strangely, Curly. What do you mean, Iris? Well, usually, the more mysterious and complicated the case is, the better Hurley's mood. Ah! Is it really a case that's bothering you? Iris, please! You mustn't exercise your astute powers of observation and deduction on me without invitation. Remember what I always say. Put yourself in the shoes of the individual about whom you're making deductions. You say that, do you? You, Mr. Sholmes? Never mind. Once I've had a cup of tea, I must make my way at once to the crime scene. That was a deep sigh. It says in the paper that Lord Van Zeeks was attacked. That's terrible. You know the legend of the Reaper of the Bailey, of course, don't you? Only too well, in fact. Yes, Prosecutor Barack Van Zeeks. They say that if the Reaper is the prosecutor in a case, there's no salvation for whoever's in the dock. Even if the defendant is found not guilty. Once the Reaper has someone in his sights, one way or another, that person's time left on this earth will be short. London's finest rogues always find ways around the law. They'll stop at nothing to secure an acquittal at trial. Falsifying evidence, paying sham witnesses, threatening jurors, bribing judges. But even such devious tactics as these cannot save them from the hand of the Reaper. As you've experienced yourself, haven't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, I've seen the Reaper's retribution at work. Many of these criminal rogues are reckless and quite unafraid to die. If a leader among their fraternity is seen to have been taken by the Reaper, retaliation like this does occur. Really, the capital has a never-ending supply of such scoundrels. So, do you mean Lord Van Zeeks has been attacked like this before? This isn't the first time? He's quite an accomplished combatant, you know. He doesn't take these attacks lying down. Although, it seems that his assailants were armed with guns this time. Oh my goodness! Is he alright then? Is Lord Van Zeeks hurt? My dear fellow, how on earth would I know? Well, in the article here it says, as to what of Lord Van Zeeks and his condition, all will be revealed in tomorrow's morning edition. Ah, I see. Well, we shall have to be patient then. No, I can't wait until tomorrow. In that case, you shall have to inquire with somebody in the know. But who? Lord Strongheart, perhaps. Well, I must be leaving now. Yes, understood. See you later, Mr. Sholmes. Ha! You really are a shameless liar sometimes, my dear fellow. What? You seek to put me off my guard and follow me, don't you? Well, you would be wasting your time. The thought hadn't crossed my mind. But now I'm wondering where you're going. Well then, see you later, indeed. Listen to him. He's still laughing on his way out of the door. Oh, what a cute outfit! That's so cute! Alright then, Runo, let's get going. Oh, Iris, what are you wearing? I've got change to go to the Great Exhibition. You're going to take me. What? But I was just about to go to the Supreme Court. Oh, well that sounds fun too. You're going to take me there then. You're pointing a gun at me! Alright, fine. Just lower that weapon, would you? Of course. After Supreme Court, then we'll go to see the Great Exhibition. Alright, the Lord Chief Justice's office. We haven't been here in a while. October, British Supreme Court, Lord Chief Justice Office. It's been about 6 months now since I was last here, but some things never change, like the sense of foreboding I always seem to feel in this place. It doesn't seem to be bothering Iris at all, though. She's happily reading over there. Oh, I love this place. I always find so many interesting books here. Of course, I was forgetting that you've been here before. The time we came here 6 months ago. When Suzuto-san was given the news that she was to return to Japan. Ah, I understand you wish to speak with me. Oh, Lord Strongheart! I trust you've been keeping well. Let's see. Since you arrived and requested an audience, it's been 4 hours, 32 minutes, and 26 seconds. I've kept you waiting a while. My apologies. Oh no, not at all! I like nothing more than standing around staring into space. Good to know. Good to know that doesn't appear to bother him at all. Mael Strongheart, Lord Chief Justice of London. He's the man who allowed me to start practicing as a defense lawyer when I arrived in Britain as a student. You need only savor the air for a moment in this grand office to understand his preeminent status. As you will be aware, the Great Exhibition of London is now underway at last. We're extremely busy as a result. Policing the grounds, guarding the new technologies, dealing with petty crime, and furthermore, as of next month, we shall open the International Forensic Science Symposium. Oh, I've not heard about that. Investigating authorities from 40 countries around the globe will be taking part, including from your own land. Forensic science is the future. The world must embrace it. As we're the hosting nation, I have much to do, and it is my highest priority. If others must wait for my attention as a result, so be it. Well, it's nice to know where I stand. So, you wish to consult with me? Of course, I can very well imagine what this is about. Thank you for agreeing to this meeting, my lord. I want to be allowed to start working as a defense lawyer again in court. That's what brought me here today. But actually, there's something else playing on my mind as it happens. Bruno, just take a deep breath and come out with it. I actually came here today to ask for your permission. Go on. 6 months ago, my right to work in court as a lawyer was revoked, and I was told to spend my time studying. Obviously, I'm very sorry for what happened. But the thing is, it made me understand what it really means to defend somebody under the rules of a foreign justice system, and I desperately want to have another go. Please, permit me to enter the courtroom again. Mr. Naruhodo? Yes? Here it comes. I'm sure you haven't forgotten your position here, have you? At best, you are a substitute for your compatriot. This was never your intended role. Well, that's true. The Japanese government actually sent my best friend on this study tour, not me. It should have been Kazuma. He was so determined to bring change to our own justice system at home. That was his calling. Kazuma's music is so good. If that tragic accident hadn't happened, I wouldn't be here in this office now. Mr. Asogi was my best friend, you see. That's why I can't leave it unfinished. I have to fulfill his calling for him. His calling, you say? Has it never occurred to you that perhaps you know nothing of his true calling? Sorry? The mission with which that young law student was charged, what do you suppose it really was? What do you mean? Mission? It's not making any sense. Never mind. I've read all the reports you've submitted over the past 6 months. It's clear to me that you regret your actions, and of the studiously obeying your revised instructions. Do you mean? As of this moment, I reinstate your license to practice law here in Great Britain. Thank you! Thank you so much! That's wonderful news, Bruno! In fact, I believe I have the perfect case to mark your comeback. A curious affair. You'll consider it, I hope. Of course! Please, tell me more! You described it as a curious affair? Yes, that's right. I believe it was reported in the press. Are you aware that there was a serious accident at the Great Exhibition yesterday? Oh, no. Yes, I read about it. A professor from Germany tried to carry out a crazy experiment. Let me see. How was it described? Super high voltage instantaneous kinesis, I think? Instantaneous kinesis? As in, moving things with a click of the fingers? That's right. It's just what my herbal blends need. A dash of devil-may-care. Whatever the serious accident was exactly, it's clearly captured Iris's imagination. It's an unfortunate business. A large explosion engulfed the public experimentation stage and a man lost his life. A certain Mr. Odie Asman, an investor and a well-known figure in society. A large explosion? A man died? The man responsible for the experiment was Professor Albert Harebrained. Harebrained. Oh my god. He was detained immediately after the incident and is due to appear in court tomorrow. On the charge of murder. What? Murder? If you intend to take on his defense, you should hurry to meet with him at the prison. There is very little time left for you to carry out any kind of investigation. The Great Exhibition, a scientific experiment gone wrong, and murder? I feel out of my depth before I even started. Still. We should go to the prison straight away then, and try to meet with this German professor. Don't you think? Definitely. Oh yes, one more thing about the case. There's a connection with our mutual acquaintance, the Reaper. Oh, with Lord Van Zeeks? How? All sorts of conferences have been taking place around the world because exhibition. And next month, the largest and most important of them will take place at last. the International Forensic Science Symposium. It does seem as though criminal investigation needs to embrace scientific methods, doesn't it? Exactly. Ah! London, the global epicenter of culture, science, and wealth, now has a population exceeding 6 million. Sadly, crime in the capital is growing at a similarly startling rate, so it's imperative that we use the latest scientific methods to investigate and resolve cases as efficiently as possible. Which is what's known as forensic science, isn't it? Exactly! The future of policing! Ah! Regrettably, however, Britain is currently dragging its feet when it comes to the adoption of forensic methods. Oh dear, that's alarming. Exactly! It's extremely alarming! Ah! Stop that! If I were Her Majesty's Attorney General, you can be sure the numbers of crimes committed and resolved in London would be very different to the current figures. And I can cite 12 solid arguments and 233 individual reasons to support my claim. Sorry? By way of apology for keeping you waiting earlier, I shall detail everyone now. What? Oh, how fascinating! It all began 15 years ago. I was... Oh god, he's on a tangent! Ah! We fell asleep. He's still talking! And that more or less sums up my feelings on the matter. In the simplest of terms, of course. Essentially, to formally establish a forensic investigation division within Scotland Yard. That is my mission. Oh, right. Yes, that's wonderful. Exactly. Wonderful is precisely what it will be. Iris isn't paying attention at all. She's got her nose in another book now. Oh, is it over? Did you learn anything useful? I actually drifted off for the most part. He's surprisingly ardent about forensic science. Okay, let me see here. Let me present the newspaper, because there was the little jab he mentioned about Lord Van Zieks. Oh, that reminds me. Have you seen this? The reports of the overwhelming success of the Great Exhibition? Of course. No, not that. The story on the back page. What story? The Reaper attacked. Ah, that. You've enjoyed some victories at court against my #1 prosecutor, have you not? Poor Mr. Reaper. What happened to him? He wasn't killed, was he? There's no need for concern. Lord Van Zieks would not be so easily dispatched, I assure you. Can you tell us what happened? I'd really love to know. Very well. If it interests you. It does, strangely. Fortunately, Lord Van Zieks emerged from the attack unscathed. Street ruffians are no match for that man. He's a very capable fighter. But that's incredible. They were armed with guns. Why was he attacked, though? Do we know? It's related to events that occurred a month ago. A leader of one of the capital's criminal organizations was indicted and prosecuted by Van Zieks. But the man was acquitted. I have no doubt large sums of money were involved behind the scenes. Large sums of money? A deplorable situation. Members of the jury were bribed, it seems. However, despite winning his freedom, the man in question met a dramatic end yesterday. But you're not suggesting that was the work of the Reaper, surely? The victim's henchman certainly seemed to think so. He was a man by the name of Asman, Mr. Odie Asman. Did you say Asman? That's the man who died in the big explosion at the Great Exhibition. Yes, known publicly as an investor, but in reality, the head of a significant criminal organization. Unbelievable. I wonder, could I ask you something, Lord Strongheart? Try me. Why do you use Lord Prosecutor? All the criminals who manage to get off in court then meet with mysterious ends outside the courtroom, and fearful of that fate, they seek to strike at Lord Van Zieks first. I know there's no evidence that he actually is the Reaper in that sense, but still, something's clearly going on here. I have Van Zeek's work for the prosecution service for 2 reasons. Firstly, the man is the best prosecutor in the capital, bar none. And secondly, any deaths of criminals that have occurred outside the courtroom following his trials are nothing to do with him. But that doesn't make sense. How can you explain the way so many have died if not by someone's hand? Van Zeeks may have earned himself the moniker of the Reaper, but he is no killer, so he will continue to prosecute on behalf of the Crown. Unless he wishes otherwise, of course. Well, I must be leaving for my next engagement. I'm already 11 hours and 16 minutes late. What? 11 hours late? Bruh! My colleagues may be starting to fidget. 11 hours late? That's quite something. That meeting had already started when I arrived back here for this engagement with you. So lateness was inevitable. Time stops for no man. I'm sure it stopped for me during those 12 solid arguments and 223 reasons. Oh yes, where would I find Lord Van Zeeks now? I would assume he's at his office. Right, I'll go and ask him about the attack in person. I want to get this straight from the horse's mouth. Away with you now. I'm leaving Professor Hairbrain's defense entirely in your hands. Of course, yes! Thank you very much, my lord! Alright. We'll be heading to the prosecutor's office next because we haven't been to this place before. Whoa! 22nd October, prosecutor's office. Ooh, so this is the legendary Reaper's office? Yes, it appears so. Grr, it sends a chill down your spine, doesn't it? What an amazingly deathly atmosphere. Oh, is that... That hooded figure was so still, I hadn't noticed his or her presence. I wonder who it is. What are you doing here? He's as unwelcoming as I thought he'd be. Actually, maybe even more so. Oh, I'm glad to see you're well. I am. So, who's the person over by the wall being punished for something or other? No punishment is taking place here. Oh! That's my apprentice, and he's sitting there of his own free will. I didn't know you had an apprentice. It must be the same person who was pictured in the newspaper. He's very able in combat, a requisite skill for anyone under my tutelage. Are you referring to the attack on the Reaper that was reported in the papers? The Reaper. I'd be interested to know the Reaper's true identity myself, assuming, that is, such a fabled fiend genuinely inhabits our great courtrooms. Oh! I know you've seen this around my arm before, but what is it exactly? It's the mark of a defense lawyer, in Japan at least. And what's your reason for showing it to a British prosecutor? Oh, well, I don't know really. I can understand at least. There's merit in reminding yourself of who helped you become what you are today. Oh, but that's a personal matter. Something you may want to keep close at all times. Not something to flaunt. No, I suppose not. Thank you for understanding, though. Wow. First time we've ever heard anyone actually genuinely say something nice about the attorney badge. Lord Van Zeeks, about the article in this paper. Ah yes, it seems there was a reporter nearby when that little skirmish took place. I had no idea I'd been photographed. It was careless of me. It looks as though it was taken after the people who attacked you had run away. Run away, though. Rest assured, the police have already apprehended every last one of them. Well, there's someone else fighting alongside you, it seems. And I think it's the same man who's sitting over there as we speak, isn't it? As I mentioned, my apprentice. Perhaps you could tell us a little more about him? Lord Strongheart said that the assault last night was some sort of revenge attack. True, carried out by henchmen of OBJECTION's criminal organization. The investigation meant their arrests were imminent. Presumably some hoped to kill me before that happened. OBJECTION. He's always masqueraded as one of London's most powerful financiers, a global investor. But his enormous wealth came to him by underhand means, via his criminal activities. And he used that money to buy himself a verdict of not guilty when he found himself in court, didn't he? Being prosecuted by you, Mr. Reaper. But the man got his comeuppance in the end. Yesterday, in fact, in extraordinary circumstances. It was a most unusual cause of death. I know about that. It was super high voltage instantaneous kinesis gone wrong. Mr. Asman died when the demonstration on the public experimentation stage ended in an enormous explosion. Correct. And you think I have some kind of divine ability to cause an incident like that to happen, do you? Well, no, that does seem a little far-fetched. If this man really is the fabled Reaper, he has to be innocent of this particular death at least. It's strange how this has worked out, isn't it, Runo? I mean, what will you taking on the Professor's defense for the trial tomorrow? What? You're going to be defending him? Oh yes, that's right. Though I barely know the man's name yet, to be honest. Albert. Albert Halbrain. That's right. Do you know him by any chance? Of course. He's a contemporary of mine. We were in university together. You're... What?! I'd understand that Professor Harebrain was from Germany, though. Harebrain's from a respectable British family. After graduating from the University of London, he moved to Germany to carry out research, that's all. So you were students together. I was in the faculty of law, of course, and he in science, so our paths rarely crossed. But curiously, we got along, though I've not met him since my university days. I certainly didn't expect our next encounter to take this form, in which you, of all people, representing him. Only if I make it out of this office alive. He's actually been charged with murder, it seems. Yes, I know, because the prosecution will be handled by me. By you?! But you made it sound as if you and the professor have been friends! We are friends, it's true. Then why would you do this? If the Reaper is the prosecutor, there's nothing anyone can do to save him. He's doomed. What's Lord Van Zeek's thinking? What do you mean by what you said before? If you'd like to know the Reaper's true identity, does that mean... I'm a crown prosecutor and a mortal like any other. I'm no demigod. Well, they've all died, haven't they? The people you've prosecuted, I mean. Whether or not the trial ended in a conviction or not, or an acquittal. Those I prosecute are the vilest wretches of our society. People who, without question, deserve to be found guilty. The world is a better place without them. But that's not true of Mr. Natsume, for example. He wasn't a vile wretch at all. Nor was Ginny, in fact. She's ever so hard-working now. I can't deny that since I encountered you, things have taken a turn. But the point is this. If any of those vile wretches that escaped justice subsequently died in mysterious circumstances, it was at the hand of their own kind. It's not my work. Lord Strongheart said the same. He believes you're not involved in any way. But you were attacked by those ruffians because they believe it's true. The fact is, since people started to call me the Reaper of the Bailey, the number of serious crimes in the capital has dropped substantially. Oh! It would appear that even the most hardened criminals can be made fearful for their lives. Do you mean to say... I mean to say that if my pseudonym serves a useful purpose, I adopt it gladly and with honor. But it's putting you in danger. You could be killed. If that is my fate, let God decide. Lord Van Zeeks. He's in my tutelage to become a prosecutor, so you could say he's my apprentice, I suppose. Ah, like you are to Hurley then, Runo. I don't remember taking an apprenticeship with a great detective. He's currently compiling a report about last night's attack. It looks like he's wearing some kind of mask. On Lord Strongheart's orders. Nobody knows the man's face, or indeed his identity. But why would you agree to take on such a clearly suspicious individual? Lord Strongheart's orders again. He's not one from meaningless follies. There will be a good reason for his actions. I hope you're right. Ah! The task is complete. Good. In that case, you could collate all the briefs. Nice to meet you. Back to work again. That was really strange, though. I've never met the man before. I didn't even know he existed, and yet, somehow it didn't feel like our first encounter. Don't bother trying to converse with him. He says nothing to anybody from outside this office. Lord Strongheart has strictly forbidden it. Oh, I see. Why are you so interested in my apprentice anyway? Oh no, I mean, sorry, I didn't mean to. The way he stood there so casually, yet with that flawless posture. It couldn't be. Ah yes, there's something I've been meaning to ask you. Oh, what's that? That Nipponese man, is he faring well? Sorry? The one arrested twice in succession 6 months ago, with the stoop, and the mustache, and the jitters. Ah, Mr. Natsume, you mean? I'm not sure he'd be very pleased to find out you identified him from that list, Runo. He's fine, thank you. In fact, I received a letter from him by international post only the other day. I see. Well, I think we can end our discussion there, don't you? There's little time left before tomorrow's trial. I advise you to spend it investigating the case. Who is blowing up stuff? Yes, thank you for the advice, and for the conversation. I can't believe he's asking after Soseki-san, after a Nipponese. I'm not sure whether to feel happy about that or worried. I never imagined that Mr. Reaper would be friends with a mad scientist, did you? That's a turn up for the books. A mad scientist? Ah, you mean Professor Hairbrain? Yes, it might be worth quizzing the professor about his relationship with Lord Van Zeeks, I think. Alright, time to move to the prison and talk to the professor. 22nd of October, local prison, cell 11. The one said cell 11. That's this one. Oh, there's someone curled up in a ball in the back corner. Look. What's his name again? Professor Albert Hairbrain, was it? Excuse me, Professor Hairbrain. Who are you? I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo. I'm a defense lawyer. A lawyer? Was it something I said? A lawyer, you say? Would you be here about the experiment? Are you going to defend my hypothesis? your hypothesis. Sorry, I don't... Yesterday's demonstration! That magnificent demonstration was an out-and-out success by anyone's calculations. But despite that, no one listens. No lawyer believes in the science. When it's explained, they all leave at high velocity. Now is probably not a good time to mention that your zeal made my concentration leave for a while, too. You mentioned the demonstration yesterday. The papers have called it a spectacular failure. After all, a man died in the explosion, didn't he? Ah! Yes, you could interpret the results that way if you really wanted to. Well, I suppose in the strictest sense, the experiment was a failure, but at the same time, it was a great success. You've lost me. I saw it with my own eyes, right there in front of me. Mr. Asman was spontaneously disassembled. Until then, everything was going exactly as my calculation had predicted. At that point, he should have been beamed to the Crystal Tower by instantaneous kinesis. However, the machine exploded and Mr. Asman in fact perished. Yes, I can't deny that part of the experiment was a failure. So what you're really saying is, the large explosion that killed Mr. Asman was an accident, correct? But the bigwigs had you arrested on suspicion of murder. I was responsible for a man's death. That is the immutable truth here. And for that, I wish to be punished. At once. But... Murder? Never in a million years! It was an accident! Simply an accident! I see. Hurley and I were talking this morning, you know. He said the situation would change completely depending on whether it was treated as an accident or murder. How exactly? Well, if it really was an accident, then the professor's machine would be kept in protective custody. On what grounds? Ah, yes, it's newly established here in Britain, the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act. That one passed me by. But if the case is treated as murder, then they'll say my machine was the murder weapon, and they'll be able to pour over it as much as they like. If they examine it in detail, they'll find out how it's made, and then they'll be able to copy my idea. My precious hypothesis will be stolen. The machine must be protected from that at all costs. That's why it's imperative this whole incident is shown to have been an accident in tomorrow's trial. Ah, I see now. So, in short, there was a terrible accident at the Great Exhibition Showground yesterday. Yes! Or rather, no. The devil is in the details. Strictly speaking, there was a terrible explosion. Sounds the same to me. You were demonstrating super high voltage instantaneous kinesis, weren't you? How fascinating. Humans, like all matter, are made up of particles that are held together by electrical bonds. So it must be possible to use a sufficiently high voltage to break those bonds and beam the particles through space. That's it in a nutshell. That's my idea, you see. That's my amazing hypothesis. Gosh, that's an unimaginably high-level science. Oh, but dare to imagine it. Dare to dream of such incredible technology. Just think, one moment I could be here in this cell, and the next, I could be at the Great Exhibition again. Well, yes, that would be incredible. And the next, in the mere blink of an eye, I could be at a great Parisian theater, say. The possibility is endless. The whole of our vast planet would be within reach. So no more hiding in wardrobes on rocky seas for 50 days? I don't really see it like that. What do you mean, Iris? Well, if you could travel anywhere in the world instantly, the planet wouldn't really seem vast anymore, would it? I think it would feel like it had shrunk. My word! That's exactly right! What are the implications? What does this mean? Oops, that's got Professor Bunny Brain really worried by the look of it. Clearly, this is yet another case of just because you can doesn't mean you should, I suppose. The point is, my calculations are flawless. The science works. But without a practical demonstration, it means nothing. And that's always the fly in the ointment. Because practical demonstrations cost a lot of money. Money that young scientists like you don't have. That's exactly it, yes. Haley's always complaining about it. He says the government should invest more in science. Well, anyway, I bumped into him at the right time. I met the well-known investor, Mr. Asman. The victim who died in yesterday's terrible accident, you mean? I understand Lord Van Zeeks is a friend of yours from your university days. Yes, that's right. He was studying law whilst I was studying science. What was he like back then? A good question. Unassuming, gentlemanly, and all-around nice fellow, really. Sorry, I think you misheard me. I'm talking about the cold-hearted and merciless prosecutor, Barack Von Zeeks. What was he like when he was at university? Talk about a leading question, Runo. As I said, an unassuming and extremely pleasant gentleman. After all, he is the little darling of the Van Zeeks family, with all his great aristocratic origins. I didn't realize he had quite such noble blood. Little darling! It was a bit of a shock when I came back to Britain and learnt what he'd become. The Reaper of the Bailey, no less. Yes, that's right. I did hear, though, that there was a very big event in his life that completely changed him after graduation. Really? What sort of event? Ah! I'm sorry, but I don't know anymore. I was in the country at the time. I was in Germany already. Oh, yes, of course. If he's heard all about the Reaper, I really don't have the heart to tell him that Lord Van Zeeks will be the prosecutor in court tomorrow. The full name of the man who died in yesterday's accident was Mr. Odie Asmund, wasn't it? What exactly was your relationship with the man? He first visited me in my laboratory in Germany a year ago now. He said he wanted to invest in my immaculate hypothesis. I thanked my lucky stars. I see, so you hadn't really known each other until then. Money for scientific research. I'm so envious. As far as I was concerned, the man was an angel. Oh, really? An archangel, even. He was prepared to fund the practical demonstration of my hypothesis for presentation at the Great Exhibition. And if that went well, I could expect additional financial support for my research from the British government. Mr. Asmund provided me with money and an exceptional engineer. He produced a machine to my precise specifications. But then, your dreams were blown to dust in one enormous explosion. As you can see, I owed everything to Mr. Asmund. I would never, ever have thought of taking the man's life. Well, he seems genuine enough. I don't think he's lying. So, Professor, let me just make absolutely sure I've understood you properly. The huge explosion that occurred yesterday, that was an accident, you're saying. You had no intent to harm the victim, who was in fact the sole investor in your work. Is that correct? As correct as 2 squared is 4. I swear it. Yes, it's true that the man perished in a machine of my invention. So I know that I'm far from blameless in all this. But still, I would never use my discoveries, my inventions, to take a person's life. Not in a centillion years. I'm a man of science. It's all I know. You have to believe me, please. Do you believe me? Do you believe in my hypothesis? Science is the pursuit of truth, you know. I've always believed that. All my life. I'm afraid I don't know much about science or your theories, but I do believe you, and I will fight to prove your innocence with all my might. I'm a man of the law. It's all I know. You have to believe me, please. When I went to live in Germany after I graduated, I learned something very important. Nationality, class, lineage, none of that matters. As long as you try your hardest, you can achieve anything. Thank you for that, Professor. And thank you in advance for defending me tomorrow in court. Alright, Runo, it's time. Time to visit the Great Exhibition. Sorry? Well, that's where the incident happened, isn't it? Yes, I suppose that's true. Time to investigate at last. 22nd October, the Great Exhibition Grounds, foot of the Crystal Tower. Ugh, the showgrounds are a little too big for my liking. We've been walking around in dense crowds for 2 hours now, and I felt myself swooning 3 times. There are a lot of people, aren't there? I've almost been trodden on 3 times too. Be careful, won't you, Iris? Don't let go of my hand. We finally made it through the throngs, though, by the look of it. Here we are, underneath the public experimentation stage where the explosion happened yesterday. What's that? I can hear voices from up on the stage. It sounds like an argument. Hey! Gina! Right, I've had it with you this time. I'm warning you, I'll arrest you in a minute. Oh yeah? Go on then, Spectre, give it a shot. You ain't got no evidence and you know it. Wait, I know those voices. You got a cheeky little mouth on you, young lady, but a night in the cells will teach you some manners. Just try it, I dare you. If you want that big bag of chips rammed down your throat. Yoo-hoo! Gregsy, what are you doing up there? Oh! Ah! It's you! Here! You're here! Here you are! You! Here! Your ladyship! How are you, your ladyship? I do you hope you're well, your ladyship. Does that make her 3 times a lady? I'm not well at all. It's far too busy everywhere. I wanted to ride in a balloon, but there was a 3-hour queue. Unbelievable! I'll go and have a word for you at once, your ladyship. You'll be flying as high as a kite in no time once I pull some strings for you. Tobias Gregson, an inspector at Scotland Yard. Until recently, he was suspended from duty, but it would appear he's back in action now. He was suspended?! All of this because of the incident with Gina and Mr. I forget his name. He's back in action now. He's actually quite well known, appearing as he does in the adventures of Sherlock Holmes. And for that reason, he can't say a word wrong to the story's author, Iris. Well, there are limits, surely. Or there should be. Watch it, sunshine! Sorry. What gives, then? Don't tell me you're on this case. Yes, I'm acting for the defense. So we're here to investigate. Dear me, that's the situation, isn't it? Is it really that troubling? A measly 5 bob? Is that all you got? You're a lawyer, ain't you? You can stand to carry a bit more copper around in your pockets, Mr. Iota. What? Hey! That's my last bit of spending money, that is! You can have it back, but I'll have to charge you for all the bother. 3 bob. This is Gina Lestrade, a pickpocket or diver born and bred in the east end of London. In the case that led to my own suspension 6 months ago, this is the young girl I was defending in court. What's your problem, Iota? Diver? Pickpocket? What's with all the name calling? You want a bag of chips rammed down your throat and all, do you? I thought you were proud to be a diver, Gina. You were just arguing with Inspector Gregson about it, weren't you? I assumed you'd been up to your usual tricks here at the showground. That ain't no way to talk to a lady, Odo. Half a year's a long time. People can change. I'm an apprentice now, learning to be a Scotland Yard detective. So you'll have to call me what everyone else does. It's Inspector Lestrade now. Finally! Finally! I was wondering when she'd become an inspector! Inspector? That badge is homemade, surely. The inspector part isn't entirely accurate. No one calls her that. For what it's worth, anyway. Investigating is off the cards for all of us. What's that supposed to mean? Right, well, I'll be back up top. You hold the fort down here, alright? Right, sir. This raises a lot of questions. Let me go ahead and examine some stuff. Like this piece of cloth here. What's this all about? Oh, look, what's this? A ripped piece of cloth. It's not like any fabric I've ever seen before. It's very thick and stiff. It looks extremely durable. It's canvas, I think, with some sort of rubber backing. And the edges appear to be a bit charred as well. Maybe that means it has something to do with the explosion. Let's make a note of it while Ginny's mid-yawn. A piece of green cloth has been entered in the court record. For some reason, the ground is damaged in this spot. Look, Almost as if there was a fire here or something. Yes, if you look closely, there's some scattered ash and burnt embers, too. Well, I suppose there was a big explosion just above here. People probably wouldn't bat an eyelid at a small fire like this would have been. I'm not sure we English are quite that laid back, Bruno. Ah, it looks as though somebody dropped something behind the tree just here. Dropped? Or hid? What is this? Some part of the machine that exploded? Maybe it could have fallen from the platform above in the blast, perhaps. What's going on here? Oh, nothing. I think I'll hang on to this, just in case. Mysterious contraption has been entered into court record. That's where the cove ended up after its instant kinesis, or whatever they call it. Dead, of course. And yet they're calling the experiment a success? What's the wooden scaffold there for? The coppers, our lads, set that up after the incident happened. To get the body down, I think. Don't know, really. Didn't you help to erect the scaffold then? Nah, lookout duty's more my thing. Wander around the exhibition and keeping a lookout for the fun stuff. Mind Gregson doesn't hear you saying that, or he'll give you the boot. It's incredible, though, isn't it? I mean, could the victim really have bridged that gap by some sort of invisible kinesis? Alright, let's talk to Gina. It was 8 months ago now that I first encountered Gina, in connection with a case I was working on. At the time, she was living in the East End with a group of other orphans. She helped all of them survive by pickpocketing, but then she got embroiled in a murder. I had a lot of time to think in prison. I realized I couldn't go on like I was. The diving weren't working out. Oh, I'm so pleased to hear it, Ginny. Well done! So, you went from being a pickpocket to a detective? You got it. Good, ain't it? Inspector Lestrade. Sounds like something out of a book, eh? Talk about a sea change. Oh, Inspector Lestrade. And then there's Iris's old man to think about. Iris's father, you mean? Yeah, I promised her, didn't I? I said I'd get out the police forces around the world to pull out all the stops looking for him. Just a small promise then. Nothing serious. Oh, Ginny, you're so sweet. So anyway, that's how come I had to go at the test for Scotland Yard. Only trouble is, I don't read so well, do I? That's a small problem. Nothing serious. And that's when Hurley approached Gregsy and asked for help. So the inspector said he'd take full responsibility for Ginny and make her a sort of apprentice. That was very magnanimous of Inspector Gregson, and brave. Well, you know Hurley. He enjoys finding ways to make people do what he wants. The great detective likes digging for dirt, in other words. So, the long and the short of it is, if you got questions about the case, you can ask Inspector Lestrade. Right then, Inspector. Actually, there's still a big mystery surrounding Gina, isn't there? Ooh, what, Bruno, what? Well, 6 months ago, Gina was the defendant in a trial prosecuted by the Reaper. A trial in which she was found not guilty, and yet here she is still. Come on, you're not still on about that, are you? Edge of the Reaper or whatever it's called. Oh, you don't have to worry, Odo. If I didn't have to worry, there probably wouldn't be a whole lot of you left. It's like I told you before, innit? The Reaper's kinda like him upstairs, so he knows what I'm like on the inside, then I ain't really done nothing wrong. Nothing wrong might be stretching a point. What about Mr. Natsume in Japan? He's perfectly fine, isn't he? Well, that's true. Perhaps the Reaper is more discerning than I thought. Exactly, so I ain't worried. I'm totally fine. Cool, it was out of this world, it was. The brainy bloke pulled a bunch of levers on his machine, and suddenly it started billowing smoke, and it just went pop. I ain't seen a better experiment here yet. Sorry? You mean you saw it, Ginny? With your own eyes? Yeah, of course. The boss is in charge here, ain't he? Of keeping everything running smooth, I mean. The boss being Inspector Gregson, I suppose. That's going to take some getting used to. So all I have to say is that I'm on duty, and I can do whatever I want to. Get this, I was up in one of them flying balloons when it happened, watching it from above. No, you're so lucky, Jenny. Maybe I should join Scotland Yard too. Yeah, do it. You know how to put the boss in his place already, right, Iris? You'd have no trouble at all. And it's settled. When do I start? No! Can't join Scotland Yard, Iris. We'll see. Anyway, what I don't understand is this. If the machine exploded so spectacularly, how can Professor Bunnybrain still be claiming that his experiment was a success? Oh, right. Well, it was a success. In a way. It was? How could it have been? Surely after the whole machine blew up, no one could call the experiment a success. It's like I said, it did sort of work. I mean, yeah, there was a load of smoke and that whopping great bang. But where do you think they found the victim's body, eh? In the Crystal Tower over there. What? In the tower? You can see for yourself, can't you? Up there above the scaffold. Oh, where all the glass is broken, you mean? Yeah, the cage what the victim got in to start with really did get beamed through the air or whatever and landed all the way over there. So, you see, it did kind of work, didn't it? What? I don't believe it. I mean, I don't get the ins and outs of it, but anything's possible, right? With science. Oh, I tell you what, you can have this. It's a plan of the experiment they drew up at the yard. Are you sure? Yeah, go on. I had 3 bob off you before, so it's fair. Yes, I didn't actually give that to you, did I? The sketch of the experiment has been entered into the court record. Something Inspector Gregson said before seemed a little strange. For what it's worth, anyway. Investigating is off the cards for all of us. Yes, naughty old Gregsy ran off after that without explaining himself. Oh, right, that. The boss said no one's allowed to investigate that weird machine what blew up yesterday. That's not fair. We're representing the defendant. In that case, could you at least tell us what you've learned from your investigations? Nah, you're not getting it. We ain't allowed to investigate neither. Why? What did the boss call him again? The forensic investigation team, I think? Anyway, apart from them lot, no one's allowed to lay a finger on the scene. Bit funny, innit? So even Scotland Yard's own detectives can't investigate. Yes, I've never heard something like that before. I thought I could have a gander on the quiet though, but the boss caught me at it. You probably heard him giving me an earful about it before from down here, didn't you? It's not bleeding fair! I think you were giving him as much of an earful back as I remember it. Yeah, well, sometimes I think it's all them chips what make him so stubborn. You say something to him, Odo? Go on, see if you can get through to him. He's up on the platform above us, is he? Where the machine that exploded is. We could try, can't we, Bruno? Gregsy will listen to us. Alright, let's move up to... May as well examine the stairs. See if it'll allow me to go up. These stairs obviously lead to the stage above. We should go up there and investigate the exact spot where the experiment was being conducted. There we go. (22nd of October), the Great Exhibition Grounds, experimentation stage. So that's it, is it? The machine that blew up. Ooh, it must have been a magnificent explosion. I've seen my fair share. You've seen things like this before, you mean? Of course. Hurley's always doing experiments that end in a bang. In fact, in his own words, explosions are the very essence of chemistry. Ah, that might explain the smell of burning that frequently comes wafting up the stairs. One time, he made something that exploded with such force it took the roof off the building. I wish you'd been there to see it, Bruno. It's hard to get too excited about that, given that I now live in the roof. Well, anyway, that's enough about that. It's time to investigate. Oh, look, Inspector Gregson is over there. He seems to be deep in thought about something, whilst eyeing up the machine carefully. Really? He just looks confused to me. This ripped itself apart magnificently, didn't it? Magnificently. And mercilessly. So someone stands in the middle of the machine to be disassembled and then beamed through the air. Yes, beamed. not blasted. That's the point. Yes, that part's crucial, really. Is something like that even possible, though, Iris? Oh, Bruno, I'm just a child. How should I know? A child when it suits you, you mean? From what I could tell, I think if you were to pull this lever here... Stop! Don't touch that! That was practically instantaneous kinesis the way you flew over here just now, Gracie. Please, your ladyship. I didn't mean to startle you, but I can't let you touch anything up here. So sorry, you can have some of my latest special blend to make up for it. Ah, wonderful! This stuff really is wonderful. It's just like old times, this is. We're representing Professor Harebrained in court tomorrow, Inspector, so we should be allowed to examine the scene. Ha! Listen, Sunshine, even I'm not allowed to touch anything up here. It's that blasted special dispensation for scientific equipment got to explain. It's driving me potty! Oh yes, that special dispensation. The professor mentioned that too. More red tape's all we need. I don't know what the government thinks it's playing at sometimes. But we're allowed to just look, aren't we? Eh? Surely that's alright, isn't it, Gregsy? Of course, your ladyship. Anything you say, your ladyship. But please don't get your dainty hands dirty, will you? Don't worry. We wouldn't dream of touching anything, would we, Runo? She really knows how to get what she wants. Alright, let's take a look-see around. That amazing horn-shaped device is pointing towards Crystal Tower. I suppose once people are disassembled by the machine, they're shot out of that thing to wherever they're going. I don't think it was supposed to shoot anything, Bruno. It was set up to beam people to Crystal Tower, where they'd be reconstructed in their original form. Well, I don't like the look of it. If it was as amazing as it looks, the accident wouldn't have happened in the first place, of course. I suppose that's true, yes. But nothing ever goes according to plan, does it? Alright. Examine the machine again. Considering how badly damaged everything is, Professor Harebrained was lucky to escape unscathed, I'd say. We should have a good look around the machine while we can, I think. Touch anything and I'll make sure I kill you before I get strung up myself, you hear? I won't touch a thing, I promise. So please, spare a thought for your digestion. Anyway, do you really think this machine could actually disassemble people like Professor claims? Yes, looking totally incredulous. Give it a rest, Sunshine. If we were allowed to examine all this bleeding scrap metal, maybe we could answer that question. But we can't, can we? Because of the annoying rules, you mean? Exactly! The annoying, obstructive, flaming rules! Oh, look at the base of the machine there. Oh yes, there's a tool of some kind poking through the wire mesh. It's a screwdriver, I think. Oh, isn't it a lovely one? The handle is in the shape of a capital letter A. Is it? It is? Oh yes, you're right. What's the matter with you? Don't touch anything, I said! Touch anything and I'll make sure I kill you before I get strung up myself, I said! Yes, I understand, sorry. I only touched it a teeny-weeny bit. But Gregsy, I'm very curious about this screwdriver. Really very, very curious. Of course, your ladyship. You're so clever, your ladyship. Fancy spotting something like this. But I'm afraid I can't let you have it. But Runo found it first. I assure you, I'll investigate it thoroughly. He's gone off with it. That was very mean. I'm afraid Inspector Gregson is going to make a very clumsy and embarrassing mistake in next month's installment now. Poor Gregsy. Using high-voltage electricity to somehow disassemble a man's body, and then beam him across to the Crystal Tower. It's an extraordinary thing to attempt, especially in public. True. It was by far the most unusual of the experiments planned for the exhibition, mind. To be honest, I'm a bit surprised it was allowed. Carrying out something so dangerous with so many spectators present, I mean. The government's doing everything it can to promote new science and technology at the moment. They're more worried about being ahead of the game than the odds of public safety infringements. If they can be the first to develop some new technology, it makes Britain more powerful in the future, you see? Yes, I suppose that's true, in a way. So the powers that be are placing a heavy emphasis on scientific rights at the moment. What sort of rights? They're making it so that any theories the brains have remain their legal property, as it were. Right through developing it into a practical idea and even going into production. Which is the infuriating reason us coppers aren't allowed to touch this crime scene. Because the new highfalutin special dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act forbids it. Ah, I see now. The only people with permission to investigate here are from some brand new department at the Yard. The Forensic Investigation Team, it's called. We've been relegated to keeping guard. The Forensic Investigation Team. Any old fool can see that this heap of scrap metal was a sham to begin with. But just because it says scientific equipment on the paperwork, we can't do a flaming thing with it. Poor Gregsy. He's very head up, isn't he? Remind me again, what's this new legal act that means we're not allowed to touch a scene here? Oh, you having at me, Sunshine? Me at it, Sunshine. It's the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act. Yes, I think Curly mentioned that recently, with a real twinkle in his eye, as I remember. I'm sure he did, Your Ladyship. I'm sure he did. Passed especially for this great exhibition it was. All sides have to do is to present their ideas or inventions to some suits in the civil service, and if it gets rubber stamped, there's a guarantee of rights to maintain the invention's confidentiality. What does that really mean? Think about it. Think of all the world-changing new inventions on display every day at the Success Exhibition. Although a good half of them are a load of cobblers, if you ask me, put forward by shammers like yourself. Thanks for that. Oh, I love how absurd some of the inventions here are. It's all so fun. It might be fun to you, but a member of the force has to be present at every single demonstration. Can you imagine, eh? Hang science, that's what I say. Oh, I don't think so. That sounds like my dream job. You'd soon think otherwise after spending a day gone on all these shamus bogus contraptions. If they're all bogus, how can anyone hope to demonstrate them? There'd be no point. Yeah, well, there's a point, sadly. Sorry? Thanks to another of our government's bright ideas. If any theory or invention is deemed to show potential, the government hands out a research grant. The scientists get funding? Exactly, and that's what they're all after. All these shamas coming far and wide to clog up Hyde Park. And who has to keep them all safe, eh? Who has to smile politely and welcome them? Us coppers, that's who. So you can see why I say it now, can't you? Hang science! Hang it! Oh, maybe I can see your point. Apparently, Professor Harebrain lives and works in Germany now, conducting his research. That's right. Came back to Britain especially for the great exhibition, as I understand it. Probably after one of the government's research grants. Actually, we learned something about the professor earlier today, about his time in further education. It turns out he was at university with someone we both know, Lord Van Zeeks. Eh? What's that? That's news to me. But if Van Zeeks managed the prosecution, then that's the accused, the professor's fate is sealed? Because the Reaper will get him one way or another. Blimey, that man's beyond me. I don't know what goes on in that head of his. Talking of Van Zeeks, this morning's paper ran the story of him being attacked. Read that? Oh yes, but Mr. Reaper is completely fine. Nothing to worry about. Yes, right. Glad to hear it. Still, the Reaper, huh? How long's that business gonna keep up, I wonder? Phone! The victim of this case, the investor Mr. Asman. He was another of the Reaper's victims, or so I heard. Lord Barack Van Zeeks is a top-class prosecutor, but even he can't always push the right verdict, though. Sometimes justice can't win. Yes, I've heard about jurors being bribed and evidence being falsified. And that's how the notion of the Reaper of the Bailey came about, isn't it? Obviously. Scotland Yard suspected Van Zeeks initially. We all assumed he was taking matters into his own hands if he failed to seal the deal in court. Although the man himself denies that charge. Well, we've done a very thorough investigation, and the conclusion we reached is that Lord Van Zeeks is in no way related to the deaths of those people outside the courtroom. There's no question in my mind. I staked my reputation on it, I would. But if that's true, then how do you explain it? All those defendants couldn't just have coincidentally died if nobody killed them. I know that, but I can't explain it. It's a mystery after all, isn't it? That's the whole point of the Reaper. Professor Harebrained mentioned something else. He said that at university, Lord Van Zeeks was a totally different person, easygoing and kind. You what? He said it was after they both graduated that something happened to change the man. Do you have any idea what it was? No clue. Really? Look, I've got my hands full watching over this frustrating crime scene. Why don't you go and make a nuisance of yourself elsewhere, eh? Right, are you done here, Mr. Naruto? Sorry? Isn't it about time you were leaving? Or rather, it is about time you were leaving. That lot are here now. That lot? The forensic investigation team. They'll be giving me the heave-ho in a minute, too. Oh dear, poor Gregsy. Here, have another cup of my special blend to cheer you up. Ah, that hit the spot. Yep, hits it every time. Well, at least I've seen the scene with my own eyes. It looks like this is as far as we're going to get with our investigations here at last. I've been thinking. Hurley might know something, mightn't he? About what? About Mr. Reaper. About what happened to Lord Van Zeeks, you mean? Well, it sounds like something very significant occurred after he graduated from university. Something that completely changed his life. Maybe, but I have no idea where to find Mr. Sholmes at the moment. He's in the middle of some big case, isn't he? Here, this is what you need. What's this? Some kind of entrance ticket? Madden to Spells? Is this supposed to mean something to me? You don't know it? It's the most popular attraction in London at the moment. It's very close to Baker Street, actually. You can go now if you like. No, we don't have time for visiting attractions today, Iris. We have a big trial tomorrow. But that's where Hurley is. What? At this popular London attraction? Yes. How is it that you know where he is? Hurley told me, but he told me to keep it a secret from you, Runo. Madam to Spells. I don't see how it could be related to the case we're investigating here, but then, stranger things have happened. And when they happen, Mr. Sholmes is usually at the heart of them. '26th of October, Madame Tuspel's Museum of Waxworks. What is this place? Look at all these terrifying scenes. But why are all the people so still? Guillotines, ruthless murderers. I know what I'll be dreaming about tonight. They're all wax models. They're amazingly realistic, aren't they? What do you think, Runa? Shocked? Wax models? Ah! I read about dead bodies and waxworks in a magazine about strange phenomena. Depending on how corpses are kept after death, parts of them can turn to wax, apparently. It's called a adipocere. Stop talking about creepy things like that, Runo. You're scaring me. Anyway, adipocere doesn't form readily, you know. It's only a very specific... Ah! What now? I've just remembered something else I read in another magazine about strange phenomena. There was an old lady, maybe a witch, who used to pour molten wax over corpses and put them on display. None of the exhibits here are real. They're all entirely man-made replicas. They can't be! Do you really expect me to believe that? Just look at them! Oh. There's no way anybody could make models of people that are this realistic! And they're all such gruesome scenes! Wait. What is it? Oh. No. I must be seeing things. Hello, Mr. Sholmes! It's the great detective, Mr. Herlock Sholmes! Mr. Sholmes has his own wax statue in here? Really? No, that's the real one! Well, he is world famous after all. It's an uncanny resemblance, isn't it? It makes my skin crawl to look at it. I know. Well, look, Runo. You kicked this Hurley, and he doesn't move a muscle. But that's the real one! You can't go around kicking the exhibits, Iris. Wait. It just moved, I'm sure. And not just a little bit, either! Really? Did it? And look closely. There are beads of sweat on the face of this waxwork model. Shall we move on, Iris? Over there, look. It's a great murder scene to enjoy. Much more appealing. My dear fellow, I take exception to your recoiling in such a matter, as if you've seen something truly abhorrent. Mr. Sholmes! I knew it! Iris, what possessed you? I strictly forbade you from divulging my temporary waxwork secret to Mr. Naruto. Temporary waxwork? What do you mean? And that kick! Could you not have exercised a little more restraint? You winded me! Maruno has something he needs to ask you. Ah, a question. And I thought you'd probably be getting bored, too. So here we are. Well, I can't deny that your timing was impeccable. A mere 2 minutes more being stationary like that, and my great brain, upon which all of my successes have been built, would have been turned to wax. Thank goodness we arrived in time. Indeed, in many ways, the pair of you just saved the world from an unimaginable loss. Oh, Hurley, you do like to talk nonsense, don't you? You could know something, it's true, about Lord Van Zeeks and what happened in the past to change him. Now that you're here, let's take our time. How can I be of assistance? Well, you're in luck. I'm suddenly quite taken with the idea of conversing. Oh, well, actually, I'm in quite a hurry, and if my eyes don't deceive me, I believe something is afoot within the walls of this very museum. A most fascinating case, if I'm not mistaken. Really? Moreover, I have a strong suspicion that it is related to the matter about which you've come to me now. But how could it be? We shall speak again presently, my dear fellow. But for now, I must return to my work. What, back to being a temporary waxwork exhibit? Okay, let's see here. How long have I been recording? An hour and 33 minutes, and I still haven't finished the first part of this episode. Oh my god. Give me a swallow of my water here. What is this place? Madame Spells came to London from France 3 years ago, I understand. Since she opened this little Waxworks museum last year, it's enjoyed great popularity in London. There are museums like this in Japan too, but these displays are something else. I mean, they aren't made from actual real people, are they? The extreme realism of these waxwork models is a particular secret of the Spells family, they say. They earned renown during the French Revolution for waxworks of victims of the guillotine. Ugh, that sounds grim. The gruesome scenes were portrayed with such realism in the expressions of the faces of the condemned. Apparently, the sculptors would make the models directly from the corpses, right there at the site of the executions. That really turned my stomach. That's just one of several legends about the Dispel's family. Whether there's any truth in it, I couldn't say. But anyway, this museum houses models of famous people from all over the globe. Nevertheless, the most popular area of the museum, by quite some margin, is this House of Horrors. House of Horrors? Of course, visitor numbers are dwindling now as a result of the great exhibition, but people usually flock here to see the exhibitions of some of London's most vile criminals at their gruesome work. Naturally, most of the miscreants portrayed here were sent to the gallows, so they're even stiffer now than the models of them! Ha! Have you heard of poor taste? My dear fellow, the public live for poor taste. They yearn to be shocked. So the hideous exhibits in here are... They're all portrayals of real events that actually took place. Is it just me, or did the temperature in here just seem to drop? Anyway, I advise you not to think too deeply about what you see here. Oh, he's back to being a waxwork, is he? What do you mean by a temporary waxwork, Mr. Sholmes? Exactly what you see. I'm part of the exhibits here. Catch these criminals in the act. Catching them. Every half hour, I home in on a different killer in one of the displays and adopt a new pose to ensnare them. When members of the public come for a closer look, offer them my hand to shake. For a shilling, I'll happily allow them to take a photograph with us. Us? Does he mean him and the waxwork murderers in here? But why, Mr. Sholmes? My dear fellow, isn't it obvious? For the money! He really roared at me there. Very fitting for the House of Horrors. As it stands, I may struggle to pay this month's rent, and I have the ravenous Iris to consider. Oh, Hurley, I'm so hungry. If push comes to shove, I shall have to ask you to do your bit, Mr. Naruhodo. What's he threatening to rope me into now? So, with that in mind, how about a photograph? As a special treat, you may have your pick of the murderers and scoundrels in here. The choice is yours. Maybe some other time. Remember, Mr. Naruhodo, ignore me at your peril. Back to being a waxwork again. Is it just me, or did this final remark there sound a lot like a curse? Well, what is it you'd like to ask me then? Actually, it's about Lord Van Zeeks. Ah, our friend Mr. Reaper. How did you find him? Well, I trust. And so I filled Mr. Sholmes in about everything I'd learned. About Lord Van Zeeks, about Professor Harebrain, and about the strange coincidence that they had been at university together. So I'm wondering what it was that happened to make Lord Van Zeek such a different person. I was sure that you know Hurley. You said there was something going on here in this exhibit hall before, that something was afoot, and that you believed it was related to what I wanted to ask you about. Mr. Sholmes? he suddenly clammed up. Well, it seems we've reached the unavoidable. Greetings. Oh, hello. Where did she appear from? And what's she wearing? Does she look any more mysterious? Ooh, I like her design. I hope you're appreciating my museum. Sorry, have we? Mr. Sholmes, do you know this? Not again! My apologies. I am Esmeralda to Spells. This is my museum of waxwork. What? You're the Madame to Spells? Bien sûr. Though only 26 years young, I might add. Is that significant somehow? I'm a madam in name only. It adds a certain je ne sais quoi. Right. Firstly, I must apologize for my waxworks. Or rather, one waxwork in particular. That'll be Mr. Sholmes then. I was led to believe he was a great detective, but he seems unable to settle. Next time you move from your designated exhibit, there will be toil and trouble. She sounds deadly serious. That's a problem. How am I supposed to ask Mr. Sholmes about Lord Van Zeeks now? Let's not forget what Hurley said before, about something being afoot, right here in the museum, I mean. Yes, I know, but... I'm so curious, I want to know what's happening here. Haven't we got enough on our plate already? But, I am going to actually save the... save here, and call it quits for today. So tomorrow we shall finish the rest of the investigation, as well as tackle some of the first part of the trial. So, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the Let's Play, please leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to check out my literally female page. I click the link in the description below. If you achieve your dream being my guy, really consider to you won't be disappointed. And of course, don't forget to click that little bell button if you wish to be notified whenever I upload a video or a live stream to my channel. And most importantly, if you wish to see how Let's Play done, you can do so checking out my playlist section. All my videos are there cover European entertainment, so you can watch Let's Plays like God of War, Final Fantasy 15, Final Fantasy 14, and many, many more. Thank you all for watching. As always, your host here by Shadow Z, and I'll see you for the next adventure. Goodbye, everyone!